Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rams House Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan, joined by Will and Joe, my co-host. How's it going, guys?
What's up, boys? Doing all right. Better than last week.
How you doing, man?
A little bit, not a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I'll say a lot just because we got our freaking ass beat. Not even that the Saints win, I'm like that hyped about, but last week was depressing, man.
Yeah, I know.
Sheesh.
I just
I
wanted to
don't
see
really,
A
I don't
W
really
on the
see them
board.
as that different, to be honest. Getting whooped by a good team and barely scraping a win against a bad team is basically the same thing to me. It
Okay.
it just
No,
points to the fact
I,
that
I
we're not a
saw
serious
some
team.
positives. I
Um,
saw some
for the
positives though.
future,
I
yeah,
like.
just not for the season.
I got some I don't think the Saints are that bad. I mean, they've done some good things this year when they're healthy. Um, they did just blow out the Browns, who, the Browns recently with Jameis Winston had been playing pretty well. I think it's an okay, I think it's a decent win going into New Orleans and beating the Saints. I think it's decent. So I'll take it, but I hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I get it.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into that
What?
game. Go ahead.
And I was just saying, let's get to it.
All right, yeah, let's dive into the Rams versus Saints recap. Um, I mean, for me, there was a lot more to not like than there was to like. I mean, we didn't particularly do too well in a lot of areas here. Um, thought Derek Carr had a pretty decent day considering he's missing his like
Yeah,
several of his top options. Kamara had a pretty decent day.
he had a good day. Yeah, Kamara
Um,
was playing well.
I mean,
He was really good.
defensively we didn't play too well. Offensively was kind of the same deal, I think. Um,
Yeah,
really the only bright spot on our whole team, and the only reason we even won that game against currently a 4-8 team is the run blocking was superb, excellent,
yeah,
See,
and
yeah,
right. To me, that's one of the positives
yeah,
that I saw is the run blocking. I think
yeah.
we can take something positive away from that.
And the running backs ran well too. And I've been very hard on Kyron Williams. Doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden I'm flipping sides or anything, but he ran well. He had one of his he had one of his better games. So, and then Blake Corum looked good too, obviously.
Blake looked great, bro.
Yeah,
The runs he had 8 carries. He looked really good.
I wasn't very happy with Kyron's performance. There was like 5 or 6 times where he got touched by nobody and only needed to make one guy miss to break off a huge run, and he was incapable of doing that. Like
yeah,
realistically,
yeah,
I think we had one of the best games of the season. I thought I said on Twitter of yards before contact, and that was all the O line.
yeah,
And I know statistically Kyron had a great game, but man, he left boatloads of yards on the field. And you're talking about, I mean, we mentioned it during the game multiple times in Discord. Like, if he could just make that one guy miss, that's a 40, 50 yard
right.
run. But Kyron can't make anyone miss. So it's
Yeah,
problematic in that it's like, there were several times where I was like, oh man, if Blake had that much space, he probably would take that to the house.
yeah. I
And
feel like he never makes someone miss at the second level. Like
never.
maybe once in a while he'll make someone miss at the line of scrimmage, but to your point, I mean, what you're saying is fair. Is like he'll get to that second level where the safeties are without getting touched. And if he can just make one safety miss, it's a house call. And he never does it, man. He never makes that second level defender miss.
Well, and
Ever.
to be fair, he's like he generally doesn't make it to the second level on his own volition. He's making it on the backs of some great blocking, and not just from the O line, the receivers. Oftentimes the tight ends are given some great run blocking. Like he, that's why it was easy to predict a recession from him or a regression from him this season is because he was being carried so hard by everyone around him last season, and it was easy to see that if that wasn't applying like it did yesterday, right? a
Yeah.
hundred percent, like dominant top two, top three run blocking. Kyron is basically incapable of breaking 100 yards and having a good game, and it's the same thing that we saw last year, where there's all these opportunities where you're thinking to yourself, or just being objective and saying, hey, if we had named the top 25 running backs in the NFL, that's probably a 50-yard touchdown run. Like the O
Yep.
line can't be setting this crap up any better for him.
Right. Right.
He had some, he had like 5 runs, I think, of more than like 10 yards, and in all of them, I think he was untouched, except for maybe one where he like Every now and then, Kyron surprises you with a run where he breaks like 4 tackles, and you go, "You broke 4 tackles this run, but you can't break a single other tackle the entire rest of the game."
Yeah.
I think he had
Yeah.
one run where it was like, okay, he just broke like 4 or 5 tackles. He got hit at like the 2 and got like 11 yards, and I was like, where is this when during in other plays when you just need to make one guy miss and you're out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what y'all saying. I think I'm gonna give Kyron credit this episode, I guess. Because even though he always leaves a lot, to be wanted when he leaves the football field, but I think last game, I think we all said it maybe once or twice while we was watching it. That was probably the hardest I've seen him run all season.
Yeah.
To me, if I felt like he got sort of like a spirit under him, and that I guess it had to do with with Blake playing a lot because
I completely
Blake
agree
had
with
8
that.
carries.
Yep.
Yeah, I think because Blake was playing more because Sean really this was the first time playing Blake early, and then he played him 8 carries. So that was
Bro,
half.
he was like technically the starter because he got the
Yeah,
first 3 carries. So it's almost
yeah,
like I mean, Kyron might have been on the field first, but Blake got the first three
yeah,
carries of the game. That's a
yeah.
statement.
And then also after the game, and this was super telling to me, Kyron had a quote where he was saying that he finally, he got like a new spirit under him. He finally felt himself, something like that. So to me, it felt like maybe it was some talkings in the, of him maybe not getting as many snaps. Maybe Blake
Yeah.
was gonna get more snaps, blah 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 blah. So I think he ran with some conviction, and I liked
Yeah.
what he showed.
Yeah, we
I think
should
you're
we
dead
should
on. Yeah.
we should give him some credit for that. That he is running hard now that he's fumbled our entire season away. Thanks, Kyron.
Yeah.
You did a great job. I'm glad you're finally wanting to play football for the Rams when you've
Yeah.
been playing
Yeah,
all
that's
season for the other team. Like that doesn't make me like Kyron more. It makes me like him less, to be
Yeah.
honest.
no, it's a double edged sword. I was just trying to just think minuscule, just give him a little credit, but it's a double edged sword because he
Yeah.
could have ran hard last game. He could have ran hard the game before that. Could have ran hard the game before
No,
that.
but I think credit, credit or not aside, I think it's a good point. Like I think Blake coming in and looking that good is absolutely in my mind. It's one of the reasons why Kyron ran harder or ran, had a better game than usual. And it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons from the beginning that I've wanted a backfield by committee because this is just common sense, the way the world works in any profession. You see some other guy come in trying to take your job and he's actually doing a good job. How can that not push you and motivate you? Like, yeah, I think that was absolutely what was happening. And that's why I wanted them to split carries because I think that's what happens in a good backfield is they push each other. You see one guy rip off a good run and you wanna kind of keep pace with them. It's like
Sure.
iron sharpens iron. So
Yep.
I think the carry share was 15-8.
Yep.
Um
15-8. Yeah.
that's
So
that's the
Blake
best
had it.
that's the best we've seen. I think
16-8 as far as touches are concerned, but yeah, I
right.
think the carry distribution was the best we've seen. The
Yeah.
one concerning part for me is the fact that Blake didn't get really any snaps at all almost in the second half when the O line was just mauling. Like
Mm,
the O line in the second half, it might have like I'm not even exaggerating. The run blocking in the second half might have been the best we've ever seen under McVay. Like that, the run blocking was so good in that second half, and I'm a little mad because Blake really had to work his butt off for his yards in that first quarter and a little bit in the second quarter. I wish he would have gotten some carries when the O line was just mauling guys because I want to see. It's weird, and people might say it's kind of excuses, but we've really not because Blake has never had a chance to get into rhythm except for the first
right.
quarter of this game,
Yep.
and I think we could all agree that the run blocking was unbelievable in the second half. It was uncontested run after uncontested run. I wish I would have been able to see Blake run behind that because he's faster, and I want to see if he can break a run or two off. And so I was a little
Yeah.
bit bummed out in that. Even when we were watching it live, I was like, "Cool, I'm glad Kyron's getting some yards." Like, I hope he gives Blake a series or two in the second half to run behind this because you could tell the O line was on a second gear. They were just mauling everything in sight, and I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see that because we want to see if with that space a home run opportunity, someone who's able to take advantage of it, and obviously that isn't Kyron.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
even in a game like this, it's still the same thing we've been talking about all season. It's like Blake's leaving yards or Kyron's leaving yards all over the field, and Blake's kind of like even in a couple of the early runs, he's making some yards out of stuff that really isn't there. Um, And it's just like as soon as Blake started getting into a rhythm, he got subbed out and it was over. And we really didn't see a
Yeah.
lot of Blake. I know it's more than we've seen before, and I'm supposed to be thankful, but I'm not. I'm just like, it's just more evidence to me that Blake's the better guy and should be getting, at least 50% of the carries every game, if not more. Like we've talked about it in the past, is basically Kyron becomes the short yardage red zone back, and then Blake gets the majority of the stuff between the 20s. That's the
Yeah.
correct platoon, and it sucks because we've been talking about it all season long, and it's still not happening the way
Yeah.
that it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyron Williams is actually a pretty good goal line back. Like that, actually, his best run, in my opinion. I know he had longer runs, but to Ethan's point, a lot of those were like, he's not touched till 10 yards into the run. I think his best run was that maybe it was just like a 3-yard touchdown run where
Yeah.
he showed the patience, which normally we've knocked him for showing too much patience, where he kind of just dilly dallies behind the line of scrimmage and then doesn't get any yards. But this time it was like a good, just it was a good use of patience. He does a little hop step, waits for the defense to kind of sift over, and then explodes and carries like three
Yeah.
defenders into the goal, across the goal line. That was his best. That was actually a really great run. So yeah, I agree with you. That would be the ideal usage for me.
But
And I want to see the carry share. I hope to see it closer to 50-50 because I think those guys would be a good, duo,
Uh,
like 50-50 share.
unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna go there. I think Kyron got the game ball, and
I don't think it will either. I don't think it will either.
it's almost like the Blake snaps are only being used as like a faint punishment. Like, hey,
Right.
we're giving
Like a motivator.
which is
It's like a
which is
carrot.
annoying. Yeah, it's well, the whip in this case, I guess.
There's no correlation between how well Blake Corum plays and his snap count.
No.
It's like he comes in. I want to say he had like 6 carries in the first half,
Yeah.
and he ran really well. And then it was just like, all right, see ya. Like
No, and it's
Yeah, that was
frustrating.
crazy.
And I personally, I think it sends a bad message to the team that like how hard you work and how well you play has no bearing on how many snaps you're gonna get. Like your snap share is basically based on, I guess, whoever Sean likes the most.
yeah,
Listen,
it kind of seems like that way
I
sometimes.
mean, there's no accountability on the side of you fumbled twice, so you're gonna get benched, and there's no reward for hey, you're playing really hard, you're playing really well, you're gonna get rewarded. I mean, Whittington played some great snaps while Puka and Cup were injured, and then it's never seen the field
Right.
again.
right.
And D-Rob, I remember D-Rob had like a couple games in a row where he had like multiple drops, and then no, hey, we're gonna give some snaps to the guy who's working his butt off. We're not gonna give the snaps to the guy who's playing well in special teams, and every time he touches the field, he's getting open. No, we're gonna give snaps to the guy who's dropping balls and can't get 2 feet in bounds at the sidelines if his life depends on it.
Yeah, that was a horrible. And just really quick, because I think I'll forget if I don't say it now. Y'all saw Jordan Whittington on that kickoff return. Like, I didn't even realize how good. I mean, I'm not saying I thought he was bad in space,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I didn't realize like he was that type of player that he can take a kickoff return and like
No, I don't think any of
you know,
us did, right? Because he hasn't had a chance.
right. And so, but that just makes it so much more like, bro, get this guy on the field. Because the way our offense works, it's a lot of just like quick game, catch and run,
Yeah.
shallow cross. Like, dude, get this guy on the field and let him run with the ball.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with Will. It's mind-boggling.
Because
Yeah,
D-Rob doesn't give you that at all, by the way. Like he does. I don't think I've
Neither
ever
does-
seen D-Rob.
Neither does Tyler Johnson or Tutu, and they're both out
Well,
snapping him by
yeah,
a lot.
Tyler Johnson's done it like twice. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, by and large, he doesn't. But D-Rob I've literally never seen D-Rob do that.
No.
And then Tutu,
Yeah.
Tutu. It's funny because he's so freaking fast that you'd think he'd be doing that. But I think you made the point on another pod. Every single catch Tutu gets is
He
like
immediately goes
he
down.
catches it and just goes down or go.
It
goes
almost
out of
seems
bounds.
like it's purposeful,
Yeah.
but I don't
Yeah.
know. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, so I know me and Ethan talked about it, like this comment of what you said that it could hurt the not locker room, but when guys are getting snaps when
Yeah,
other
yeah.
guys earn it. And I know we talked about that. We had a hardening conversation about it. Kind of want to bring it to the pod a little bit because I was thinking about it, and I've said something sort of like this before. To From how we see it is different from how the coaches and the players will see it,
Mm-hmm.
and just to be on the other side a little bit, if you look at Kyron as a player, how respect, like I said before in the past, how respected he is in the league, I'm pretty sure he's respected that same in the locker room.
He is. He is.
So, To us, when we watch the plays and we see it and we know, okay, he could do this more, he could do this more. Obviously, to the Rams, it's enough and it's what they want. So when he's getting those snaps, I don't think players or people in the locker room are looking at it like, okay, he's awful and we need to be playing over him. I think if they look at it different, like he's a good running back and it's just seniority. The same thing with Jordan Whittington. It's Puka's out there. Tutu's been in the offense for a long time, and Tutu's the over the top guy. Demarcus Robinson, he's a veteran. Demarcus Robinson, whether we like it or not, is he scores. He gets his touchdowns. He's had touchdowns and has won his games sometimes. So it's like when it comes to that seniority, I can understand why the rookie is not going to get as much as we want them to get
uh,
because it looks a little different from us.
but it's selective seniority, right? And I think there's plenty of evidence at the NFL level that seniority is just a bunch of nonsense, right? Bill Belichick hasn't done
Yeah,
that.
I can agree with that.
The best coaches in the NFL don't do the seniority game, right? But it's selective. Like why is Juwan Johnson not getting more snaps than Jared Verse? Like why is we can do this all day long. Why is Cameron Kinchin's playing more snaps than one of the backup safeties? Like there's it seems very selective, and it seems like
I think that's a talent gap to me, in my opinion.
I mean, but there's a talent gap in the other two spots too that we tell. Like, what about Troy Reader and Omar Spates? Like, there was a significant talent
Yeah,
gap the other
yeah,
direction.
yeah. You're right. Yeah,
So there's you have Bobby Brown and Tyler Davis. That might be less of a talent gap, but it's a guy who can eat double teams at least.
I think it's a big talent gap.
It is. It's arguable, I guess, is what I'm saying. I
Yeah, no, no,
agree
I
with you,
agree.
but
Mhm.
like no, I see your point, and I think I agree that it's probably not as important to them as it is to us, but I definitely think if that happens enough, players will start to notice, and it will dissuade players from wanting to work really hard or to be more of perfectionist on like see there's no way I can believe that these guys see Kyron fumbling and not protecting the ball and maybe feeling like there's situations where Sean plays favorites because I know that some of them make a mistake and get subbed out of the game and
Yeah.
they go to the bench and they have to earn back more snaps. When they see that not happening to some of Sean's favorite guys, because we know he freaking adores D Rob and he adores Troy Reader and he adores Kyron, right? Like those are his boys.
dude. Dude, listen to Sean McVay what he says during his speech before he gave Kyron the game ball.
Dude,
He
I was
loves
just thinking
Kyron.
that.
He
He
loves
was just
Kyron
thinking
to
that.
death, bro.
He
He
you could
loves.
tell he made it a point to like prop this guy up. He's like, we never doubted you. It's like, bro, you just saying that makes it sound sus. Like the fact that you had to say we never doubted you means like you doubted him
Well,
a
it
little
means
bit.
it means the fact that you're telling the whole world, hey, we know Kyron's been playing like trash.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's what you're saying. You're saying he's been playing like trash, but we never doubted you. But
yeah,
again, I think it's this issue where it's like the best teams, the best coaches, there's a merit based system there, right? It's not, and we could even argue that he does that in his coaching hires, and we talked about that in Discord. Joe is like Shula didn't earn that, and the reason I say that is even though yes he came up slowly through the system, there was not another team looking at Chris Shula as defensive coordinator,
no, hell no.
not a single other team, and so like we talk about like the
It-
Lafleur, like was Mike the coach of the Green Bay Packers. There was a lot of
Man,
teams who wanted him to be the OC, be an OC that season. He was being looked at by a lot of teams. Maybe not his brother, maybe not the other Lafleur, the one from that we got from the Jets, but
yeah, that's Mike.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I always get him flip flop. But yeah. So the two current coordinators we have, no one was really looking at either of those guys as options for the coordinator positions. It was just Mike. It was just McVay looking at his buddies and giving them promotions. Where
yeah,
in the past, like Brandon Staley was going to be a DC whether we got him or not. LaFleur was going to be a DC whether we got him or not. And I would even say Kevin O'Connell was being looked at that offseason because he had been part of a couple of, decent
yeah.
staffs where he was being, even if you don't think he's done enough, if you're a positional coach on a top 5 squad, you're going to get in looks, right?
Yeah. No, O'Connell definitely, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So Ethan, you respect that more. If he's gonna hire a friend, at least hire somebody that's sought it after. That's
Correct.
you
Because
know.
it's
Okay.
it tells to what the rest of the league thinks about you too, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call. I already forgot the original LaFleur, the Green Bay Packers head coach.
Matt. Yeah.
Matt was
That was
wanted
Matt.
by a lot of dudes that offseason. He was the hot OC name, and I remember
Mhm.
because we were jazzed up when we got him. And so yeah, it has to be someone that when you're hiring your friends, it's got to be someone who's earned the position, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
how do you earn the position? Well, other people want you for the same position. That
Yeah.
like Raheem was going to be a DC. This is a good like. Even though I didn't like Raheem, he was interim coach. He was already a coordinator for Atlanta. He was going to become a DC or a head coach that offseason regardless. So
Right.
like, to me, that's just evidence that some of these guys are being hired, even though they're Sean's friend to a degree. We don't really know how friendly they are. Like Shula is like his best friend in the whole world. Like there's no
Right.
questions
Right.
there. The guy was the best man at his wedding, his roommate in college.
Right.
Um,
And it's a huge problem because we've said this before, is like, if this guy does a mediocre job, McVay's not going to fire him.
no,
Whereas if
exactly.
because this is the downside of hiring a friend, is like you're going to have a longer leash and it's going to be awkward to, and we know this because he did it with Raheem. He didn't fire him, it wasn't until he got a head coaching job. But and one more just really quick thing I
Yeah.
wanted to say about this is I think the issue is that if you've heard Sean McVay tell his story, he always talks about how he was given an opportunity when he felt like he actually didn't deserve one.
Mhm.
And it was just because of his grandpa. And he kind of he went from being like a walk on at Miami of Ohio, which is like a nothing school. I mean, no offense to them, but it's not a big program. And John Gruden gave him an opportunity. And he's said multiple times, he was like, honestly, I didn't even really deserve that opportunity.
It
Like, it
was
was just kind of
nepotism.
like, yeah, exactly. It was nepotism. So and Sean's a good guy. And so I think in his head, he's like, look, the opportunity was given to me. Look what I did with it. I want others to have that. And I know that they can
but
take off.
but he
But the problem is he's brilliant.
earned. And by the way, it
Well,
took him a
well,
long time.
he eventually did earn it. At first he didn't, but the difference is Sean is rarely brilliant and talented. And so for him to kind
Yes.
of like, I think he just thinks like, oh, if I did it, like I feel like if I just give Shula the opportunity and he can do it's like, no, dude, not that many coaches are as smart as smart as you. You're a rare thing. I
Honestly,
mean,
we could tell from day one, if we really think back, like really think back, we were all hopeful. Some of us more skeptical than others, but we should have known from day one that Shula was going to be a bust because when he was asked what he was going to do, he was like, oh, I'm going to do a combination of things that I've seen already. That's
yeah,
not what you want to hear in a new guy coming in. You want him to have ideas. You want him to have his own vision. You want him to have his own concepts, right? And basically what he's
I think
done,
that's a valid point. Yeah.
basically what he's done is just, I mean, he's really a copycat of Raheem. Is really all
Which is
he's
not
been.
what you want. If you're gonna copy someone, at least copy like a
Staley.
great PC, right? Like that's
No,
the issue too.
the
Like
thing about it, he's copying Raheem and he's doing it worse than Raheem
He
did.
is.
Raheem was better than him. So that's the
Raheem
worst part.
Raheem's better than him, and that's sad because
which is
Raheem wasn't
sad.
good at Raheeming.
Sad.
It's a mess.
Raheem
But
was
I genuinely am concerned about this overall pattern because it's coaches, it's players. I understand the idea of having a heart that wants to give chances, but also this is the NFL and chances have to
yeah.
be earned. And maybe there's a guy earning it who's getting overlooked. I think that he's doing it the wrong way in the fact that he's giving chances to guys that he likes, that he thinks um, their hard work should earn him that. But really, this is a production based league, right? So, like, I'll give you an example. The best example I could think of on our team currently is the Omar Spates Troy Reader situation. I'm sure Troy Reader's a nice guy. I'm sure he works really hard at his craft. I'm sure he really wants to be a good player. But Omar Spates is in the same situation. He's a UDFA. But clearly, to anyone who watches football, Omar Spates is infinitely more talented. Are you
Mhm.
telling me that Troy Reader works a lot harder than Omar Spates and Omar Spates hasn't been gritty enough to earn it? I don't buy that for a second. Omar Spates is UDFA working his ass off for a job. Can we all
Yep.
agree on that? Like, I can't fathom anyone who's working harder than Omar Spates on this team. That a UDFA trying to earn a long-term contract, a long-term deal is, and we can see the way it plays out on the field. This week, Omar Spates was the best Ram on
Yeah.
the field.
He is playing his ass off. Yeah.
Oh man, it's some stats that I want to talk about. We'll bring it up later, during the defensive portion and
But
stuff like that.
so that's
He
what
has
we're
some
talking about,
nice.
this nepotism issue, right? It's like you're not going to convince me that Troy Reader's worked harder than Omar Spates, and Omar Spates is infinitely well. There has to be a multi-sided thing to this. I understand giving the underdog a chance, but the underdog has to have talent. And I'm not trying to be rude to
Pretty
Troy
sure.
Reader.
Yeah, the Detroit Reader stuff over with though. I think that's done
No, no,
for
no.
good.
It's not over. Did you
This
hear the
whole thing
latest
over.
news on it? Are you
What?
ready? I'm gonna show this right now because you brought it up. Are you ready to have your mind blown? Because this made me actually want to blow my own mind when I heard it. Um, but John Johnson's been ready to play for a while, not like a long time, but potentially the last couple of weeks. So is Troy Reader,
Yeah.
and the reason neither of them are getting activated is because they can only choose one more activation for the rest of the season, and they're kind of like waiting to see who to activate. Bro, you're
Yeah.
choosing between Troy Reader and John Johnson. This is
Yeah.
not a hard choice, but this is
Right.
what the
You need to
but
read that article.
Will
So
skimmed it.
the quote from McVay basically it boiled down to he said he's waiting to see what the injury situation is. In
Bro.
other words, if a linebacker was injured, let's say Omar Speights gets injured, then it's like, oh well, we should activate Reader versus Johnson or vice
I'm
versa.
sorry,
That's what the
you
quote was.
just you can't coach this way. Your season's been on the line the last 3 or 4 weeks, bro. We can't hold John Johnson on the IR while the season's on the line because maybe
Yeah,
Roseboom gets hurt or Spates
right.
gets hurt. By the way, the Lions have lost like 4 inside linebackers and just signed Jamal Adams, and they just signed freaking they signed Quan Alexander, they signed Jamal Adams, and they signed David Long Jr. Not the quarterback, the inside. They signed 3 inside linebackers in the last 2 weeks. Like if you have injuries, you go get guys off the street who can play ball. Like you do what
Yeah.
you have to do. You can't just sit here because Troy Reader might be able to be useful one day. Like that's nonsense, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who thinks that's crazy, right?
No,
Yeah,
no, you're
yeah,
especially when the safeties aren't playing well and
They
you
could
know,
use a
John Johnson
boost
fills a hole that we could use right now.
and
Like
a
you're talking
veteran
yeah,
presence.
you're
you're
right.
talking about like what if, like, oh, what if someone gets hurt? But we literally have a need right now at safety.
Yeah, I think yeah. No, I'm just saying. I just read it, and yeah, Will's like, he's spot on what he's saying. That they're basically McVay said they talked with Les and the defensive coordinators, and they were just saying, we
Which is
should wait it
Shula.
out and see what happens at those positions, and if a linebacker get hurt, we'll bring Troy back, and if a safety gets hurt, we'll bring John Johnson back. And I guess that's cool to look at it like that, but the only issue is that
It's not cool.
we need John
No.
Johnson.
If they were like both backup quality players, I understand what you're saying, but one of them is actually a pretty decent
Yeah.
starter in the
He's
NFL,
he's
and
our
then one of them
he's
is
our
a McDonald's drive-through assistant.
yeah. He's
Like
our best safety. He's our best safety in my
yes,
opinion. I mean,
he
you could
is.
say I guess I mean, plays such a different role than Cam Curl. I think he's more valuable. Like,
He's more valuable than Cam Curl because he plays a much more difficult and high reward position, right?
yeah,
A good
yeah,
deep safety is significantly more valuable than a box safety. That's just the
yeah.
facts.
And I love Cam
yeah,
Curl, but
you're the biggest Cam
Johnson,
Curl guy I know.
I think I'll take Johnson, honestly.
And
Cam
so
had a good game too.
no, Cam had a good game, but this is what we're
Yeah,
talking.
I
This
mean
is
he's
kind of
good.
like
He's a good player.
Yeah,
the point being is like we're still showing this weird nepotism to Troy Reader. These guys aren't similar in talent.
Imagine being loyal to Troy Reader. Like for what? Like he hasn't done anything. I mean that's exactly the point. But
Look,
like it just,
I love
just
Sean, but do you remember like he has a tendency to do this where he finds a flaw within himself and he's constantly trying to improve and he swings too far the opposite direction, right? And you guys remember Sean got like nailed to a cross during the 2019-2020
yeah,
season, and it wasn't just about Goff. He There was huge issues with the way Marcus Peters we got rid of him. Talib, who was it? Gurley had complaints. A lot of these premier players for us in 2018-2019 season were really pissed off about the way we got rid of them. And it wasn't that we got rid of them, it was like no communication, no nothing. We were just like, "Hey, you've been traded." Like, bro, that's not how
yeah.
you treat players that are good. And Matt McVay got a lot of flack for that. And it seems like he's trying to correct to be more of like a sensitive players coach, which is understandable because the Jared Goff situation also was really bad, and the fact that there was a report saying that they didn't talk for like the last 3 months that Jared was here.
Yeah. He openly said he regretted how he handled that.
Yeah, and so
tried to like change from that. Yeah.
it seems like it's a correction, like an attempt at a correction at some of those failings. But man, bro, you can't be like it's gone too far.
I'm not even gonna give Sean grace on that because I get what you're saying. It's Jared, but see, that's Jared Goff, who's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. That's who had an MVP season. He was here. Marcus Peters and Keith Talib were top 10 cornerbacks.
Yeah,
Like those guys
Yeah.
are actually good players. Troy Reader is awful. He's one of the worst players in football, especially at the linebacker position. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna change your ways on a player, to me, I get it's a meme to say, but
Change your ways
Caleb
on a
Reed
good one.
is not. Yeah, change your ways on a good player, not
Yeah.
like player as
Which, by
often
the
as that.
way, you would think the
Sure.
guy who earned the loyalty and the respect of the coaches this offseason would be Spates. Like, that dude's story is awesome. That dude's
Yeah.
story is awesome. And because he's not just playing at like better than Reader level, he's playing at like he's an average to above average inside linebacker in the last few weeks. And he was a
Dude,
UDFA.
Yeah.
it's
To me,
LSU fans on my timeline that's complaining about the defensive coordinator they have right now because they're watching Omar. Like LSU, I mean, some Saints fans, LSU fans, they were saying Omar is a key player on a decent team, and LSU was sitting him a lot, and so they were
oh,
mad at their defensive
Yeah.
coordinator last year for doing that to him.
hmm.
I know we kind of got off on this rant during the offensive takeaways, but the
Oh yeah,
point
yeah, we probably
is
need to get
we
back.
It's
gotta
okay.
stop. We gotta stop with this like weird obsession. Like you're talking about, D Rob isn't a useless player. He's actually great in the red zone. Then play him in the red zone a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like he's out snapping Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua since they've both been
Right.
back. He's out snapped them both,
Yeah.
and that's crazy because D Rob doesn't bring enough between the numbers between the
All,
20s.
all he's good for is that little speed out on the
He gets
goal
an
line.
occasional
Sir.
big catch, but like, bro,
Yeah.
D Rob should be playing. Just being honest, realistic, he should be playing a third of the snaps. That's what because he's only an impactful player in a third of those snaps. And Tyler Johnson doesn't deserve any snaps. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that guy can't get open to save his life. The only times he's had two good plays all season and they were wide open, and then his run after the catch was wide open. Like he didn't even really like shrug off a guy and go like Puka and Cooper do every time they get the ball, right? Like they're making that first guy miss. Tyler kind of just got it in the right spot at the right time with a huge hole. And then Tutu again, like D Rob should be getting a percentage of the snaps because there's situations where he's really useful, but
Yeah.
there's a lot where he's not. And so
Yeah.
at the worst, it should like those three guys, D Rob and Whittington and Tutu should be getting a share of the load. And Whittington isn't getting anything right now. And to be honest, like he's our third best receiver.
I agree.
And so that's problematic. And then Kyron doesn't deserve to have 100% of the snaps or even 70% of the snaps. At worst, it should be 60-40. It's like, I appreciate some of the course correction by giving Blake more snaps. I appreciate, the fact that he benched Jonah Jackson in favor of going with Bo Limmer again. But I think he's gone too far the other direction. We really need to it's got to be a merit-based thing, man. I hate to bring up Bill Belichick, but really, all I have to do is bring up Sean McVay earlier in his career. Sean McVay used to be kind of a hard ass, and AD used to remember AD talked about it. He loved it. He loved the fact that Sean he would be all over you if you made mistakes. He would be. I mean, how many times we see this guy yelling at people, like fumbling, or when Jared threw interception, he was in Jared's face, and I don't dislike that in a coach, to be honest. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like he's gotten a little bit softer than he needs to be.
Yeah. No, I think
Yeah, I
I
think
think that's
he
fair.
has. I don't know. Soft. I don't know if he's gotten
Yeah,
softer,
that's
but
just it might not be the right word, but
yeah, I think he just got he sort of changed his philosophy of how he does things, and also, well, like we're funny. We're one of like the youngest rosters in the NFL,
yeah.
so I think he's sort of treating it delicate with the young guys, but he never really did that before. These last two seasons, the first time he sort of treating these guys kind of delicately, so it's just a different thing. I kind of want to see how it works out, as the
Yeah.
years go by.
I'm happy overall with the job Sean is doing. Obviously, I just think the personnel decisions, and they just seem to be the only rationale behind the personnel decisions. The question marks we have, it seems to be guys that he just loves, and that
See,
I think is problematic
Yeah.
yeah,
because there's no other rationale. It's not like, oh, well, Reader has this or that going for him. No, it just seems to be guys that Sean's really big fans of, and that's not enough because it's football and it's not freaking poker at your buddy's house. That was a terrible analogy, but let's move on to the
yeah,
we've kind of tapped out on the well, you know what, let's take a
I-
quick look at the offense since we haven't
yeah.
really talked about it much. But realistically, I mean, it was really, I think it was just a mediocre day from the offense. Like statistically it looks good, but the O-line balled out. That was the best game the O-line's had all season long, and
I think
I wasn't super impressed with Stafford or Kyron. or really anyone. Is there anyone in particular that you guys can think of where you were like, this dude was really freaking good on offense? All on the O
No, I
line
think
for
it
me.
was just the run game, like as a whole.
Me personally, yeah, I thought Kyron was good, and I got Matt.
Matt
Matt's
was
second
fine.
half was really good. He
He
was
was
really
fine.
fine in the second half.
Yeah.
I like the offense in the second half. I think they ran some good
Yeah.
stuff. I
Well,
think
I
it
want to.
worked out
I
pretty
want.
well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. Look, I want to say something about it, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying the offense was great. But one thing that I did notice is, so obviously we all agree we did pretty well in the second half, but not the first half. But we just barely had the ball in the first half. So I'm looking at the drive chart right now. First drive was only 3 plays. Um, then the next drive, we actually drive 50 yards, but get that turnover on downs on the fourth down,
Mhm.
which I didn't like that decision. I thought we should just kick the field goal, especially in a game like that where it's like, it seems like it might be a grind. But it was a fine drive, just didn't get it on fourth down. Next drive, 40 yards and punt. So we just didn't possess the ball a lot in the first half. Part of that was, yeah, like we had a 3 and out, but the other part of it was our defense was letting us down in the first half, and they just kept letting the Saints had like a lot of long drives. So I guess
Defense
what
was
I'm saying
really
is I'm
good.
giving them a little bit of grace because then in the second half, we score first drive, 70 yards, touchdown, next drive, punt, next drive, touchdown, next drive, touchdown, and then the last drive was just us kneeling out, running out the
So,
clock.
but
So
realistically, we only had one more drive in the second half than we had in the first half, right? So they 3 or 4 drives is pretty typical for the NFL. And there's been games where I could point to you to like a dozen games, probably even just this week, where teams got 3 drives and scored at least 1 or 2 touchdowns.
yeah, I guess that's totally a fair counterpoint, and you're right. But I guess what I'm saying is like a sample size of 3 drives that didn't go well. Like one of them actually I thought was a fine drive, and we just didn't get it on fourth down. I mean, I'm not gonna like and then you get the second half where the offense was actually really good. It's like all together. I look at it and I'm like, I'm okay with. I'm not like I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm not like super encouraged by any
Yeah,
means, but
The,
I guess I'm trying to give a, you can say it's copium and it might be fair, but at the end of the day, obviously like halfway through the game, I'm saying it looks awful, but when all was finished and the game was over, I thought the offense was okay. I'll say that. I don't think it was like bad. And they obviously it was a game where you're running the ball well. You're controlling the clock. Like the Saints weren't really putting up a lot of points. I don't think Stafford ever really like had to go to that second gear. I thought it was an okay day. That's that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I think it was like some great day by the offense, but I don't think it was like a bad day either. I think it was like okay.
no, to me, the issue was in that first half was the Saints had way more plays than we had.
That's what I said. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
That's
but
yeah.
part of it.
that's
That's
our
part of it.
fault though.
We had
Yeah, it is.
to me that's on the
It
That's on the
is.
defense. The
Well, it's
defense
not.
was
It's on
really
both
really bad.
sides. I
It's on
mean,
both.
your
It's on
first
both.
drive is a
Yeah.
3 and out. Like that's not the defense's fault.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I
it
mean,
was.
but they had a 12 play drive, a 14 play, a 6 play,
I
another
mean,
11 play.
But part of that, so
yeah.
like it's a compounding problem, right? Yeah, sure, the defense let up a lot of plays and it was a long drive, but also they're being allowed to get into a solid rhythm because the offense can't do anything. It's pretty it's
That's
pretty
also true.
inept, and so
Yeah, I
um,
agree.
the issue is overall we're talking about the performance, and yes, it was enough to win the game against the Saints, but that's basically what the reason we've lost a lot of games this season is because we had a whole half where we basically were non-existent on offense.
Right.
And so against a good team, we're getting
Yeah.
smoked if we do that.
That won't fly this week against the
That's
Bills.
why
for sure.
I don't like it as a whole. It's because it's not a real winning formula at all. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it was good enough and the stats look good enough and it was all kind of good enough, but against a good team, it's not going to be good enough. It's going to be go
Hey,
poorly.
so
Yeah.
um,
That's fair. That's fair.
speaking on the good team thing, right? Um, so I know the Eagles we got smoked, but the Eagles are probably a super team almost. They're like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are not a good team. To me, the Bills are probably a great team. So, do you guys think that we've beaten any good teams this year?
I would say even though the Vikings aren't as good as their record, and I'm like one of the first people to say they're fake as far as their record is. I still think they're a good team.
That's probably the only good team
So
we've
I would
beaten.
say,
And to be
yeah, and then you could
fair,
argue
it's like
Seattle, but
it,
you know,
I'm not trying to
I think
discount the
Seattle's
win. I'm not trying to discount the win, but it's also like some of that big brother syndrome, right? Like Sean owns Kevin O'Connell.
I would also say the 49ers, when we beat them, was a good win because we were
Oh
both
no, that,
we
that
were
was a good. That was
yeah
good.
we were both banged up, so I don't think you can
But
say the injury
but I don't
excuse.
think they were good. I don't think they were a good team though because they had a lot of injuries. But it was a good
Well,
win.
I mean, we were more injured than they were.
Oh,
And it's it's a division.
was that?
It's Kyle Shanahan. Like I would say that's a good win. But
No, it
anyway,
was.
No,
either way,
it's
your point is that we haven't beaten a lot of good teams, and you're right. So
yeah, we haven't. We've kind of feasted on bad teams, and well, feasted is a nice word because we've barely beaten on most of these bad teams, and we've lost to some of them.
yeah.
Well, we just beat bad teams.
You know what
that's
though?
Well, the
I don't
Bears
want to.
smoked us.
I don't want to like fully recant my own take about the offense being. I mean, I said it was okay, so it's not like I said it was
Sure.
very good anyway. But I mean, honestly, as you're talking, Ethan, what bothers me is that it's the same problem popping up. So I actually am going to slightly recant it because even though I stand by saying overall it was a good day, when the same problem presents itself that we don't start fast, I should have been more critical of that because yeah, that problem keeps popping up. And so it's actually really frustrating. And yeah, it's really frustrating that that's still a thing that we just start so slowly. And just like we said against Philly, if you start slowly against the Bills, you're getting blown that you're just getting blown off the field.
You know, I think a good way to put it is basically we had a mediocre performance as an offense, and we had a mediocre performance as a defense, and we've kind of been mediocre all season long, to be honest, as a team. And
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
we know we're better than that, right? We know we're better than. I mean, we're what? Are we 500? Did we get to 500 again?
We're
We're
6 and
6.
6. Yeah.
We're a 500 team,
We're 6 and 6.
and we've played a pretty easy schedule to be honest. Like, I bet if we looked at the strength of
It's like
schedule,
average. I feel like it's just like, it's it's
I
like
don't
middle
know.
of the road.
We're in the worst division in the NFL,
That's true.
and
No, hold on. I don't know about that one.
who's worse than us?
The South maybe.
That Falcons Panthers
NFC South.
division.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay,
bad
okay.
team,
Or
though.
the AFC South is also bad with
The
Jags,
Jaguars, Colts.
Titans,
That one's
Colts.
off.
But I
too.
mean, it's not a good
We're
division.
we're
yeah.
a bottom 3 division of football, and on top of that, the best teams in this division are all hurt. Like the Niners, who are literally missing half their team at this point. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the Seahawks are just getting in their own way. But yeah, so it's just, to me, it's just we're a mediocre team. That's what we are right now, and we have the talent to be a better team. And some of that is really positive for the future. And we've officially started our draft preparation film studying, and that's been exciting. But yeah, I just think we're a mediocre team. I think we might squeak into the playoffs, but I doubt we do anything in there. What do you guys? I mean, we're on defensive. We're on offensive takeaways still. Let's switch to defensive takeaways and let's cover that. We'll talk about the future in a second, but let's cover the defensive takeaways. It was pretty. Well, I'm gonna say one more thing about the offense real quick. Didn't we discuss last week that the Saints are basically terrible on the defense?
They're pretty bad, especially against the well. So they gave up a lot of
Secondary
yards,
wise.
but not a lot of points.
Not a touchdown.
So it was kind of like a bend
So
don't break.
I think we probably played them as good as the rest of the NFL has played them. So, which is mediocre to be like.
Yeah,
we just
pretty
talked about they're probably a worse division than ours. So, we our offense, considering we were playing such a bad defense, I think our offense was pretty poor. But honestly, it's because let me say one more thing. When you're looking at it, it's like the O line was dominant in all phases of the game, and then when you take away the O line and say, okay, how did the rest of the team, their offense do? That is how I think you get to the mediocre part. And it's fair to say a whole thing might have been, okay, but like, man, that O line is doing a lot of heavy lifting for this offense right now. And the D line is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the defense too. Our trenches are great, by the way, and that's great for the future because not only are they great, they're signed up for a while, right? Like, Rob still has at least 2 or 3 years.
Rob got one more.
One more
left.
year. Dotson has 2 more years because we signed him to a 3-year deal. Limmer is going to have 3 more years after this one. And Avila's going to have 2 more years
He-
after this one.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you
He
have on
probably
the
getting
D
extension
line,
next year.
Byron Young and Kobe Turner have 3 years each. No, 2 years each. And then the other 2 guys have, Verts is going to have a 5th year option. So he has 4 more years and Fisk has 3. So our really good trenches are signed long term. And so that's great news. We have to build on that. We have 2 good receivers and Jordan Whittington coming up in the wings. We have a young running back. Like there's stuff to build on, for sure. And Kinchins is really showing himself to be a quality safety. So
Yeah.
we talk about being the youngest team in the NFL and being a team that is mediocre. There's a lot of stuff to be excited about still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's yeah. I mean, I want to talk about it a little more at the end of the episode, but yeah.
Yeah, we've been awful at keeping on topics. Defensive
Yeah,
takeaways.
yeah, you know what though? The conversation we had, I thought was
Yeah.
more important
It
than
was.
offensive takeaways. I think that was good. But yeah,
It was.
I'll say for defensive takeaways, I guess the biggest positive for me was that we neutralized Taysom Hill.
Yeah, we
He
injured him.
obviously,
Kobe Durant.
yeah, but even before he, well,
Yeah.
that's true. Even before he got hurt, I think we did a good job on him. Obviously, he's their X factor. He absolutely exploded against Cleveland the week before. And we had gotten on Shula in the defense for not, taking Saquon out of the game previously, two games ago. Basically, not taking away what they do best.
Sure.
I think that was their X factor. That's kind of how they got you, and we neutralized that. So that's a positive. On the
Yeah.
flip side, Kamara, obviously,
Jawan Johnson had a good game.
he was getting pretty much whatever he wanted. I mean, dude, Kamara had like 4 or 5 drops too in that game.
Yeah, which was
for all we know.
I know
Yeah, he
Joe's
coulda
gonna be
had-
mad, but it was lucky. He's
Yeah.
got pretty good hands. But like you talk about the tight ends though, Taysom and Jawan Johnson had a combined 10 catches for 72 yards or 73 yards. So it wasn't a bad day from the tight end room because we talked about that in last week's key matchups, right? Tight end.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just looking at the stats here. It was a hard game for me personally to be excited about, to be honest. What about you guys? I
The only
mean,
reason I was excited. I was excited just because I saw some really. I mean, to me, I'm like when I get to watch Jared Verse play and make plays.
sure, of course.
I get to see Puka do what he does. I get to see the offensive line be as dumb they was. Even though I was a previous Kyron fan, but it's still good to see us having a good running game. So I was excited about those. We did some good things, but I get what you're saying. Just because as awful, I won't say awful, but as mid this offense been all year, we still haven't got to the point to where we've got over the hill. So it's still like we're in the
Yeah.
same position that we were in week 2, week 3.
And you're talking about a defense that, actually a team. We talked about them being mediocre, right? They're not terrible. They're not great. They played really bad when Spencer Rattler was starting for them, but they're also injured pretty severely right now, and we're pretty healthy. Like they're missing, and they traded Lattimore away, who's the best player on their team. So
Right.
He still hasn't played yet, which is crazy.
I'm getting less excited about this victory as we go, as we talk it through, because we barely beat a pretty beat up mediocre team. I mean, that's where I settle on it. It's just like it doesn't give me great hope for the future. A win's a win. We can do that all day, but like it doesn't give me great hope for that we're going to be able to do anything else this season against teams that are much better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like too far. I'm a little bit more encouraged, but not a lot more, to be clear. I mean, I think it's like a C+ for both sides of the ball. Like I'm kind of caught between it's the NFL, everyone's, everyone can beat everyone.
Sure.
The Carolina Panthers went toe to toe with the Chiefs. I kind of have the more cliche, like, most teams, on any given Sunday can be decent. They're at home. It's in New Orleans. You won by 7 points, which is, I mean, that's
but
a fair margin.
In the
So,
same breath, you're talking about like the Panthers, where it's like magical tips off of Mahomes receivers, and it's getting intercepted. And we're having Kamara drop balls. We're having Taysom Hill get injured in the middle of the game and leave. Where a lot of things went our way, whereas like in the Panthers Chiefs game, the Panthers had everything going the way. It was like one of the luckiest games they had all season, or maybe the luckiest game. So, I'm full negativity today. If you guys, I'm just full blown Negative.
I've noticed. Like I said, man,
Just
I'm
so
not saying I'm.
frustrated because we're a much better team. We're a team that has the pieces to blow the Saints out, especially an injured Saints team that's traded Lattimore away. We could have, should have win this game by 14 plus points.
Now,
Yeah.
one thing I will say, I'm gonna just put some homerism in here a little
I
bit.
know.
Uh,
I throw
yeah,
homerism
I
up,
know
so
that.
have at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a little bit in here, because I just want to go back a little bit about the, losing the good teams. So thinking about the Eagles game, right? So the Eagles really smoked the Ravens. I know it was 1924, but that was a last second touchdown. The
Yeah, it
game
was a
really should have.
convincing win. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
convincing
that
win
should
for
have been
sure.
like a 10-24 game. And the Eagles are also on like a 8-game winning streak. So I really don't. I know it's homers to say that, but I really don't take big consideration to that game
But
just because
we
that's
also scored a late game touchdown. Does that count?
right. So no, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying like we got blown out too. So I think the Eagles are on this thing where they're probably going to the Super Bowl and they've been really beating up on teams week by week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's sort of hard to put us a barometer when it comes to uh against the Eagles just because of how good they are. Because it's that's why I keep asking about the good teams thing. I kind of want to see us against like a Tampa Bay Commanders, a team like that, to see how we compete. Because the only great we've only been facing great teams or bad teams
Yeah, that's fair.
or mid teams. I kind
That's
of want to
actually
see us against the
that makes some sense.
That's
yeah.
I
a
would
I kind
say,
of want to see us.
Joe,
Go ahead.
what you just said makes sense. I feel that I do. It's
yeah.
not even like a, but I'll also say for me, the issue with the Eagles game wasn't. There's a couple of separate issues. One is just that we got our asses beat, but to me, the separate issue that concerned me more is just like our game plan and our coaching, which we talked about at
Yeah.
length last episode. So I won't like go full in, but it's like it just made me lose confidence in like our coaching staff and our decision making. Like we didn't even have a good plan for AJ Brown. We didn't have a good plan for Saquon Barkley. So it's like I think that's what concerned me the most, more than just being like, oh, we're not talented enough.
By the way,
And
we
I
did.
think
So just to add on to that, we didn't have a game plan against Kamara that was very good either. If he doesn't
yeah,
drop two wide open passes, he is probably looking at close to 200 yards from scrimmage.
yeah. I
So
mean, I think like to both of your points and the points you've been saying, all episodes so far about like we should have beat them by more and you're not that impressed. I think this all comes down to coaching, man, because I don't know if you all agree, but I think this is a pretty damn talented team on both sides of the ball. So,
yep,
like, I don't know what it's like. If you were to ask me, like, why isn't this team better? If I were to give a one word answer, it's coaching.
I agree.
Shula mostly, and McVay
Nah, bro.
too.
McVay's
Not as much, but well, first of all, personnel decisions. He's the head coach.
that's on Sean, yeah.
So
And these slow starts and
yeah, the slow starts on offense. Yeah, and
so look,
red zone.
are we going to beat
third
the
down.
Eagles? Probably not going to beat the Eagles, right? Let's just be real. But
Yeah.
would it have made a big ass difference if we had a fast passing offense instead of this thing against one of the best
Yeah.
pass rushers in the NFL? Like we were not prepared to play that game. If we came out with the same offense that we got against the Vikings, we have a puncher's
Yeah.
chance to win that game. Can you guys agree with that?
No, I do, and you're right, and it's bad when Chris Collinsworth, 3 quarters into the game, literally late third quarter, goes, I think Sean McVay is just now realizing he's not going to have time to throw. So
We
it's
made
like,
that adjustment
what?
like at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now we're doing that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
We should have started with
that's
that.
bad. That's bad coaching. Period.
Yeah.
Like-
no, and so like that's what I'm saying is the offense has had some of that stuff where it's just like I really just want McVay so darn smart. This is why I want him hiring a more capable offensive coordinator, right? Because I want someone who he can sit down with and go, okay, we're playing the Eagles. What should our offensive scheme and game plan be for this game? It doesn't seem like we do that enough. Like we do it every now and then. Like the Vikings game was one of the best coach games of his entire career, I think. I genuinely
Yeah.
mean that.
It was.
He was so ready for everything they were going to do. But we weren't
Yeah.
ready for the Eagles, and we knew what the Eagles were going to throw at us.
right.
But also, one thing I do want to say, the defense gave up 255 yards.
No, I
Mhm.
obviously it was.
Yeah.
But also part of you want to talk
You're
about
not going to win any game doing that.
No,
You
I'm
wanna-
blaming them both.
you want to talk about time of
Shula and McVay.
possession, and you want to talk about plays run.
Keeping the ball away. Yeah, I get that.
We let them have that ball over and over again. So Yeah, it's. I don't think it's even arguable. Coaching is our biggest problem. We should be winning the NFC West by a game or two. Like we even talked about it. Like let's just be real. If well, let's just two things. If Blake Corum is the full time starter game one, and if Troy Reader is bench for Omar Speights game one, we're probably an 8-win team right now. Can we like?
You know,
We barely lost several games, and if we just had a little bit better play in our running game and from the inside linebacker position, we probably win those games. I think.
no, and that's to me that shows how talented the team is because we're getting mediocre coaching, close to almost bad coaching, and we could win a division just
Oh,
slightly. That just shows you how talented the team is.
I've settled in on the fact that the D line is single handedly carrying this team by talent alone, not even by coaching. Because really, what coaching is he doing to have the D line be incredible in a pass rush and incredible against the run? It's not
No,
like it's these insane play calls. Where you're like, oh my
no.
gosh, way to
It's
go,
just
Shula.
execution.
It's just
It's just straight
excellence
execution.
from the D line.
Yeah.
Not Shula.
Yeah.
The only one coaching is probably the D line coach, Gil Smith. He's probably the only
Dude,
one.
give
that's,
Smith and
really
Ryan
giving them-
Wendell MVPs of this season for
Mhm.
us.
Yeah.
All right,
Shout out! I give Sean credit on that though. He hired
I
some
mean,
good coaches.
yeah.
on that.
his positional coaches hirings are actually pretty good,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Except
The last thing
for-
I'll
except for Shula. That decision.
yeah, that's true. The last thing I'll say about the coaching is it's just depressing me to think about that we all agree that coaching is the issue with this team when we have the best coach in this division. Like we have the best head coach in the NFC West probably by far.
I mean, we have the best coach in the
And we're-
NFC, though, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
Well,
But yeah, so either way, like the fact that we're
man.
saying coaching is the issue is crazy. But I think I think
Because
that's-
it's
I think
because
that's
it's
true.
not it's
And
not
it's-
that Sean lacks the talent, the intelligence, or any of this. I genuinely like we were talking about earlier with the personnel decisions. It just seems like Sean is just a pendulum swinging one way to the other. He was overly harsh with players, and now he's overly friendly with players, and coaching decisions. Like remember the first group he hired. He needs to get back to that. He needs to get back to hiring guys he doesn't need to babysit. Remember Wade
No,
Phillips.
he can't do it.
Yeah, don't hire your friends,
Do
bro.
it.
That's just I
Like,
think that's just like a
Stephen
good
McVay?
life. Yeah, you shouldn't hire your friends.
Yeah, McVay can
Hire the
do it,
right
bro.
people.
Last year he took a team that we can all agree was worse than this team, substantially
Yes.
worse than this team.
Were
They were
they?
a playoff team.
Yes,
That's actually an
Look at
interesting
it.
question. You think they were much worse?
I think they were.
I mean, they
really
had
bad.
AD. Okay.
our O
Because-
line is better. Limmer is much better than Coleman Shelton is. So I think the O-line,
Secondary is a lot better. Well, on paper. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It should be a lot better. And it's
our
really
safety
not,
room
which
is tremendously
mind-boggling.
better. We also have Omar Speights, which we didn't have last
D
year.
line as a whole.
You know what? Kyron Williams was running much better last year, and that was that was part of our success. So anyway,
Let's move on to stock up. We could be here
Yeah.
for eternity.
Yeah.
All right, stock up. Offense. Oh, I'm just gonna make it super simple. The whole O line, run blocking, just all together, but run blocking specifically, because really, I think this was one of the best performances from an O line we've had in a very long time, like years, probably since 2021. So the O line, maybe earlier than that, to be honest. O line stock up, no question about it. And I'll let you guys go. Okay. Offense stock up.
I can go ahead, Will. I'm going to be a surprise.
Don't
a
you
little
say
bit.
Kyron. Don't
I
you
think-
do it.
No, I think it's going to be my first stock up for him. I might have one week 1 or something, but I'm going to give Matthew Stafford a stock up. And
interesting.
The
Okay.
reason I'm going to give him a stock up is this: the last 3 games, what I've been seeing from him is a trend. He's become way smarter with the ball, as far as turnover worthy plays or just being dumb with the ball. He still is not making the throws that we want him to make, that he should make.
A lot of
But
accuracy
I think he's
issues. Yeah.
starting to become, I think he's starting to become a little smarter with the ball, because right now he has single digit interceptions, and it's what I looked up. It's a crazy thing that, other than some injured season he's had in Detroit where he didn't play the full season, if he continues this will be the first season that he doesn't have double digit interceptions
Okay.
ever in his
I
whole
think
career.
I do think he probably will get there because he's trending that way. But yeah, he went from turning it over a lot to not turning it over at all the last 3 games. So that's definitely a step in the
that's
right
why I wanna give
direction.
him stock up for
He's
that.
being smarter, but he's really been inaccurate all season long. But that's a story for another day.
All right, I like that, Joe. That's an interesting one. That makes sense though. I didn't actually like think about that. Yeah, he hasn't turned the
He's
ball over
been
three.
way better with the ball.
Yeah.
Way better.
So yeah, so I actually that's
Yeah,
good. I did Blake Corum. I have Blake Corum for my stock up. Both
I like
because
that one.
both because he played well and because just stock up in terms of I mean, look, McVay has done this to me before, where I get my hopes up after Blake comes in and looks good, but there's something that was different about it this time. Maybe it was just because it was a little bit more carries. It was like 8 versus, like 5 or 6. I know it's not that it's only 2 more, but I don't know.
No, no,
I
it
think
did feel a little different, but
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it,
after
but
the
you know what it was? Is that he started. I think that's one of the things
technically
too
he
that
didn't
made
get
it
a
a different.
start, but yeah, I see. What
As in he got the
yeah,
first
yeah.
3 carries. That part of it was eye-opening to me. I hope it's here to stay. It
After
was he
that,
got,
after that game ball speech, man, I don't know.
yeah.
I thought McVay
No,
might.
I was
I thought he might divorce his wife and marry Kyron on the spot. To be honest,
Dude, that kind of annoyed me because he's giving the game ball to Kyron, but if he had just kept Blake in and gave him those carries, that would have been,
Blake
Blake
would.
could have easily done
I'm
that or
dead
better.
serious. Blake would
Probably
have broke.
better.
Blake would have broken 150.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet money on that because think about all the crazy holes Kyron had, and his longest run was 17. There's no way you're gonna convince me Blake doesn't break. We saw Blake on returns. Remember, he's got some
Yeah.
breakaway speed.
He's fast, man.
He's faster than
Yeah.
he was.
He accelerates.
You
He's
know
got
what it is?
the initial burst is
Yeah,
better for him.
it's because last year in college he was hurt.
Right.
He had a bum knee, right? And so I think that made him look slower than he's been a lot quicker and faster than I saw in all of his film from last year in college. So
Yeah.
that's a great one. That's what I was gonna say when I was like, you know what? I think one of them will go with it. So
Yeah.
stock up on defense. Um, Man, that's a tough one. You know, I'm gonna go Omar Spates because he keeps. I've stocked up to him like 4 times now. He's. You know what it is? It's 3 weeks ago I stocked him up and I said, you know what? I think he can be a starter in this league. Maybe not a number 1, but maybe like a number 2 inside linebacker. He might be a number 1 inside linebacker, man. Every time he gets more opportunities, he's smart and he's decisive and he's confident and he's strong. And you know what? I mean this with all due disrespect to Christian Roseboom and Troy Reader, but he plays like a man. When he hits a guy, he hits a guy. When he makes tackles, he makes tackles. I'm so sick and tired of seeing my inside linebackers, my guys who are literally paid to tackle the ball carrier, fall back 4 yards making tackles. Spates hits you. Dude, I don't know how many times this season, whether it's an open field tackle on a receiver or a running back, where he's made contact and he like grabs them and pulls them back and they do not get another inch. I love to see it, man. I love to see it. And he's also been pretty darn good in coverage. Spates, man, is I'm starting to think he might be at least for the next 4 years, be able to be the number 1 inside linebacker here. Which is crazy
Yeah.
because I've literally never thought that until recently.
I think he's better than Ernest Jones was.
Oh,
So
I
for all
don't.
those people who, and I was never one of these people, but the people that were upset about Ernest Jones, us not keeping him, which it's not even that I think he was bad. It's just that I don't think he was worth paying a lot of money to. But yeah,
he was bad. But yeah, go ahead.
I think. Oh, anyway, I had the same one. I'm not even gonna. I
Yeah.
don't even feel the need to add like Omar Spates. He had a really good game. He's flashing. I'll say an honorable mention. You guys are gonna hate this. Christian Roseboom had his best game of the year times, and it's like not even like it was like every single other game he's had has been god awful, and
He did.
he had a pretty good game
He got
actually
something.
on Sunday. No
he's-
joke.
He's trash. But you know what's
Yeah,
interesting?
that's why I can't stock him up because
I'm not going to
not
disagree
gonna
with
do
you
it.
because he's trash. But you know what's interesting and what's telling is that I saw a stat on Twitter. I want to see if I can find it. But what it was somebody who was like listing out our tackles and tackles for loss and all this stuff for all of our defensive guys, pressures and everything. And I want to say, I'm just see if I can find it real quick because it was actually worth looking at. But I'll wrap it up for you. Basically, it was talking about the tackle totals, right? And so we had Christian had 12 tackles and Spates had 10 combined tackles. But what it said was for these guys, it was tackles and it was stops. And stops are a different statistic, right? It's actually like run stops, like you're making a play to stop advancing the football. I don't know the exact metrics, but it's significantly better than just getting a tackle. Like you're not just a guy who was there at the time the guy,
Right.
and
Right.
out of the 10 tackles, 7 of them for Spates were stops, and out of the 12 tackles for Roseboom, 3 of them were stops. And it just kind of shows you who's like really being a difference maker. Stops are a much better tackling stat than tackles, because tackles we know can be totally manipulated. We had Troy Reader with like 15 really this season, and none of them were a good tackle. So
Yeah.
like yes, he had his best game as a Ram by far, but I wanted to delineate the fact that Spates is really rising well above, even in this great game from Roseboom, where Roseboom is at. Like he's legit, man.
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
mean
yeah.
to take your thunder away, but I
Yeah.
remember that and I was
No,
impressed.
no. I agree.
Spates deserves that credit because 7 stops out of 10 tackles and 7 stops in one game is really like that's like all pro level football, and
Yeah.
and you can see the differential. 70% of his tackles are stops. They're impactful things. So yeah,
And one thing I want to give him credit, even he's a rookie, and he's only played I think 8 games or something like that.
yeah.
Started like 8
I don't
games, I
even
think.
think
No,
he's played 8.
five starts.
Yeah. He hasn't.
Five
Yeah.
five starts. Okay.
He hasn't
Yeah,
played none.
5 starts. And to me, I think Christian Roboom had looked better because I think Omar is making him better.
Yeah,
100%.
probably. Yeah, when you're playing with Omar
So
versus Troy, yeah, that's gonna help for
yeah,
sure.
so to me, I just got to give, and that leads into my stock up. My stock was the same, Omar too.
Was
So
Omar? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I would say
Wow, we all had the
I
same
would
one.
say Roseboom is proving
yeah,
that he can actually be a backup inside linebacker. Because when he plays next to a talented
Congrats.
guy, he can be serviceable, which is like
hmm
it's a backup. I mean, you're not asking to play at a Pro Bowl level, but like when since he's been next to Spates, he's actually been like, okay, if I had to put this guy in for a game or two because of an injury, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Troy Reader made him much worse. It's a factual point. All right,
Yeah.
let's head over to stock down on offense. Um, it's kind of I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna say stock down on offense to the whole offense in the first half. It's just gotten out of control, man. And it's not. It's crazy. As you guys in Discord might remember this, but when it was halftime, I said this probably means that the offense and Matt Stafford are gonna have a huge second half because it's what they do. They have a bad
Yeah.
half and a good half, a bad half and a good half, and it's just like, bro, it's getting old. It's getting tiring, and it's just piss poor play. You show us in the second or in a half because we've had some good first halves and some bad second halves. But like you show us in one half of every game that you're talented, and in the other half you're not just bad. You're straight garbage. How many total yards did we have in the first half? I want to say Stafford only had like 46 yards in the first half. He was 4 for 10, wasn't he, for like 46 yards, something like that?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't.
The
He
whole
barely. Yeah, he barely threw it.
the only good offensive weapon in the first half was Corum.
Right.
Even Kyron had a pretty I think he had a good last drive of the half where he had a couple of decent
Yep.
carries. But like, bro, you gotta stop doing this. We're talking about the coaching issues, but man, the offense, and this includes Sean and it includes LaFleur. We just keep playing like trash in one of the halves of the games, and it's not always like a half. Sometimes we have like, oh, the second and third quarter we play atrocious. It's like half of the game though. We just look totally inept, lost, and confused.
Yep.
And bro, the Saints being a pretty darn bad defense, it's just getting out of control, man. We got to stop putting up inept halves against even bad teams. We're too good. We have too much. Even if you think Matthew Stafford is on his way out and it needs to be replaced in the next year or two, which I obviously am thinking that, we're still a good enough team, and Stafford's still a good enough quarterback to put together a complete game.
Right. No, because of course, 100%. Because it doesn't even make sense that you can play really well for a quarter. Like if you can play really well for a quarter and a half against a certain defense, that means you can do it for
Correct.
a couple. Like it doesn't. It's not a talent thing.
No,
It's
no.
it's coaching.
What do we
It's
all say? We're a
execution.
top 10 offense, talent
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
That's
can
why it's
throw
so frustrating.
you can
It's so
throw the
frustrating.
lack of carries for Blake Corum in there because that's part of the offensive decision making. And
Yeah.
yeah, the offense is just getting out of hand how underperforming they are. They should be a top 10 offense. They're nowhere near that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Do you want to go, Joe?
yeah. My stock down on offense. It's hard 'cause I really don't really don't have one, so I'll be sort of nitpicking a little bit. I'll be nitpicking a little bit. And this is gonna be okay. This is gonna be pretty bad. You guys might not like it, but it's not stock down because I think he's bad, but it's a stock down because I've been noticing some stuff. I'm gonna say Cooper
I
Cup,
knew you were gonna say that. I was waiting for
Interesting.
it.
and
Interesting.
the
All
reason
right.
and the reason I'm gonna say Cooper Cup is what I've been noticing is he hasn't been able to break as many tackles as he used to, and he's not getting as open as he used to. And whether it's scheme or whether it's teams doubling him more and leaving Puka to 1-on-ones, but Cooper doesn't give me that. I just don't have that same feeling that I used to have with Cooper Cup. It's just like I don't. He's still a great receiver. He's still a really good player. It's just that I don't think he can reach that. Not I'm not speaking about the triple crown. That's something he's never gonna reach again. But just that level that we know Cooper Cup, I don't know if he's gonna reach that anymore. I just don't. I don't know. I'm not confident in it. That's
I,
what I'll say.
I want to push back on that a little bit because I think I genuinely think that a big reason for his lack of yards after catch is because Stafford is not accurately giving him the ball, giving him the ball in a place where he can catch and go. Stafford's accuracy has been really bad this year, and even on completions, they're not necessarily getting the ball in a position where they can think about Kupp's yak comes from that quick catch and the quick turn, but you have to be able to have the ball in a specific, easy to catch spot in order to make that quick turn. And as far as him getting open, yeah, I mean, I still think Kupp is the most defended player on this in our receiving core, including tight ends. Like he gets more attention than anyone else, and there was a couple decent times where Kupp was open where Stafford just threw it off target, and
Yeah.
he's actually had a pretty good season, to be honest, considering.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was gonna. I mean, I respect the take.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
where I was gonna go with it. Is just he's not that far removed from, I don't know, the Patriots game, for example. He played really
Yeah.
well. So I don't know. Um,
I mean, he
I
was
think
even
I
good
think
in Philadelphia. He had 60 yards and a touchdown.
yeah.
I'm telling you, he
Yeah.
hasn't had as good opportunities as we're used to him having.
I mean,
It's all right though. You were waiting
yeah.
to stock down Cooper Cup. You were waiting for it.
No,
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 I'm just like,
no.
Mine is also kind of. I feel like y'all won't like it, but exactly like Joe just said. Stock down doesn't mean I think this player is bad, but based off like what I expect from them, I stock down Bo Limmer because he struggled a bit more in pass protection than usual. I saw that he allowed more pressures than he in pass protection than he had all season. I think I read that this morning on Rams Wire. So I stocked down Bo Limmer. I'm obviously not like worried about him, but just from what I expect to see from this guy, because I am high on him, that was a stock down for me.
it's tough.
Yeah, I know you probably hate that, but
He's like, poor
yeah,
guy's
that's
a
what I had.
6th-round rookie. He had his first bad game, and
Yeah.
Will over here is like, cut him. Just get rid
No,
of him.
no, no,
I'm
no.
just like,
I said stock down. Like I said, it could be seen as a compliment.
yeah.
I expect more from him.
All right, stock down defense. Who wants to lead us off?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Guys, I haven't gotten the honor and the pleasure of stocking down Michael Hoyt yet, so I'm gonna use that card right now. And I'll be very simple. For how much we use this guy, he's not giving you enough. That's really it.
I think
He's all over the field, different packages, different roles, different lining up in different spots, and just giving you a whole lot of nothing.
you said he's not giving you enough, but I think what you meant to say, what he's not giving you anything.
Yeah, I just said that. There's a whole lot of nothing. It's, yeah,
nothing.
exactly.
All right.
He's just running around out there, man.
He you know what? That's the perfect statement. He really on so many plays, it looked like Hoyt is just running around.
He's just
not
there.
knowing what to do.
He's just like kind of there, bro. He's like an
Yeah.
NPC. He's an NPC.
Yes.
Bro.
I know Ethan said it. Whenever a big play happens, he's the first one to be super excited, jumping up and down.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It drives me nuts,
he'll do
bro.
like the LA after like the
Yeah,
other
just
like
just randomly.
Jared Verse will get the sack and then like he's like celebrating.
Well, you know what's crazy? The reason it pisses me off is because almost every time the guy who's got the camera zoomed in on him is Hoyt and not the player who actually made the play. And I'm going, bro, shut up, sit down. You didn't do anything to deserve this hype. Let me see Cam Curl or Cam Kitchens or Jared Verse or Braden Fifth, the guy who actually made the play.
Right.
That's why it drives me nuts. Is because I go, I thought Omar Speights made that tackle for loss, but here I see Hoyt acting like he just won American Idol. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, your stock down
This
defense.
is funny. My stock down defense was first time was D Will, Darius Williams. I thought D in the second half especially, he let up some big plays. He let up a touchdown, and then he let up another big catch where he wasn't really paying attention too much, and he got burnt. It was sort of like a slight double move, and then he got bent. Then he got beat in the back of the end zone towards like the back right side
Yeah.
pylon.
Yep.
So to me, I'll give him a stock down. This is probably the worst I've seen D Will play all year, probably. So I'll give him a stock down.
Yeah. And he's not covering a very good receiver. So I think that's totally
All
fair.
right, I have
Yeah.
something that's funny from the Hoyt thing before I give my stock down because I remembered this meme that basically describes Hoyt to a T. You ready for this? This is Hoyt's entire existence on this team. This is literally who he is, bro.
Absolutely.
Bro, he's the guy freaking out, and he's the worst player on defense at any point he's on the field.
Mhm.
Tell me that's not Michael Hoyt to a T, bro.
Yeah, that definitely fits.
The crazy
That's
thing
okay.
is, I've seen a couple plays where he like made a really bad mistake, and someone cleaned up his mess, and he's still doing this. And I'm like, bro, you're the reason that had to be. Anyways, all right, stock
What
down.
makes it worse? Yeah, he has that tiny mohawk too. That's what makes it just worse. It's disgusting.
All right, stock down defense. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go with the secondary as a whole. I just really thought they weren't very good. Like, can you guys think of a single secondary player who you were like, maybe Cam Kinchins had the best day? Curls,
Yeah,
okay.
I think
Okay, so, okay,
got,
no,
like,
let me
there, yeah.
rephrase then. Let me rephrase because Cam Kinchins and Cam Curl's best plays of the day were all in run support.
Yeah.
So the pass coverage was kind of awful, with the exception of Omar Speights, who was actually really good. But for the most part, the pass coverage, secondary pass coverage, was bad.
Right.
Like
Against a bad receiving, like not really a good receiving.
no, a mediocre receiving core who was missing its top two players because
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed and your boy Chris Olave, Joe, was
Olave,
out,
yeah.
and it was like we couldn't stop them. I mean, Derek Carr had one of his better games of the season, which is mind-boggling.
They had a few drops too. It could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse, and so yeah, I think that's a fair stock down. Let's move
Yeah.
on to next week. Rams versus we call this the cheek clap preview.
Sheesh.
If we don't get clapped, I'm gonna be utterly shocked, like utterly shocked. Now, the Bills are just playing out of their mind right now.
Yeah, they're a great team, man. They're a great
I
team.
mean-
There's nothing really they don't do well.
They
Yeah.
you know what? Let's take a look at that because I think you're correct, and I want to actually look and see what the statistics say on that.
I want to
This
say
is the
their
Bills.
rush defense
So
is
the-
like the only thing they're just
10-2, 10-2.
I think it's their pass. I think it's
No.
their pass defense, actually.
Their defense is sixth in points given up. You can't see it, it's right over here, but they're sixth in points given up. And then
They're gonna give up points.
11th in yards. So I mean, they're second in points scored. I really wish you could see this. They're second in points scored, and they are sixth in points against. So they're a top 6 unit in both. They're good at running the football. They're good at passing the football. They're good at defending the run. They're good at defending the pass. Like I guess the worst thing about them is that they're 30th in rushing yards allowed, but
Right.
we're like the worst team in football at rushing yards per attempt ourselves. So this is a bad matchup for us, boys. It's a really bad matchup for us. They're
The
also-
only bright side I got.
What?
Oh,
Nah.
sorry.
Yeah,
No,
you
the
go.
only
Joe.
bright side I have is that I think what's going to matter in this matchup is, and I was going to sort of say it in my prediction, but it kind of fits with right now. The only thing that I have that's a bright spot is our offensive line being healthy and how good we can be against the run against. And I believe we can be good against the run against everybody when we're all healthy. So I think that's going to matter.
Wait, good
when it comes
against
to
the
running
run
ball.
or good running the ball?
Good running the ball. That's what
Okay,
Hey,
okay.
I got to
Yes,
fit a little bit
offensive
Yeah,
line. Good
yeah.
running the ball.
right here.
Yeah,
Second
I
and
mean-
sixth in points. This is defense
Yeah.
Stafford's office. But yeah, so you went to your point. They are a complete team. Like that's totally valid. And we're not. Also, their coaching right now is the best I think it maybe ever has been in Buffalo, to be honest. They're really
Sean McDermott is doing a good job. Man.
which
He's
you know
doing a
what's
good
funny
job.
is 2 years ago we were all wondering if Sean was just a byproduct of the offensive defensive coordinator they lost. because remember they got their coordinators
Now,
hired out from
Right.
them.
Dable
I
Dable,
was
will say,
yeah.
I will
left,
say
yeah.
one thing though. Josh Allen is carrying a lot of that load though. Like
Bro,
the
Yeah,
but
way he
for
plays
he's
sure.
hitting
football,
another level,
he does
man.
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
He
yeah.
does everything for that whole offense. He
Yeah,
is that offense.
he's the MVP for me if I had to vote.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
he's the MVP
For me,
right now.
it's him or Saquon for me.
Yep, I agree with that.
You know
Actually,
what?
Saquon would probably be number 2
I'm
for me.
sick and tired of this being a QB award. When
Me
there's
too.
because you know what, Cooper Cup should have won it in 2021 because
Absolutely.
I understand if it's mostly a quarterback award, but when a positional player does something special, like here's the crazy part: like we could have someone break the sack record and they wouldn't win MVP. That's insane, bro. Get out of my face with that
Yeah.
nonsense. If someone is
Yeah.
doing something that's never been done before, like the Triple Crown, or Saquon's about to break like every running back record that exists, I
Yeah.
don't care, bro. It needs to go to
Bro,
that guy. It needs to go to that guy.
Cooper Cup was legitimately the MVP that year too. Like it's not even like
No.
stats. It's like we won the Super Bowl. Cooper Cup was the Super Bowl MVP. If you take Cooper Cup off that team, we're dog water. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. You take Cooper Cup off that team, our offense is like completely lackluster.
Our
Like,
running game was bad. And our
Yep,
receiving game,
right, our
besides
running game
Cooper
was-
Cup,
yeah.
for large portions of the season, was
he
awful.
carried. Yeah, he was literally the MVP.
Saquon deserves
Yeah,
it.
it's-
To be honest, Saquon deserves it.
The MVP thing is bad because in 2020, I think Derrick Henry had like 2,000 yards and like 15,
Yeah.
16 touchdowns, and he didn't win MVP. I don't know
Right.
who won in 2020,
But
I
like,
know it was Derrick
yeah,
Henry. It was
actually, yeah, I think the
crazy.
Titans were like actually good that year too. They might have been like the
Yeah,
1 seed.
and
Yeah.
it's just bad. But I agree. I think Saquon's award is right now. But to the team, let's move on to let's just start talking about it. Let's start talking about Bills
Yep.
versus Rams. Our offense versus their defense. We are fully healthy. We've got the whole O
Finally.
line playing, the whole receiving core. Literally everyone's healthy. I mean, we're healthy. There's not much to say besides that. Now let's look
Yeah,
at the Bills'
yeah.
defense. They, I think, are pretty darn healthy as well. That front seven is deadly, guys. Greg Rousseau is playing really well.
Yeah,
Ed
Russo's a problem.
Oliver, Matt Milano, bro, they're a
They got
really
Von Miller.
who's technically coming off the
Von
bench,
Miller's-
but yeah.
Yep, he's like a rotational, or like a
He's
situational pass
awful.
rusher.
Remember
Nah,
how
he's awesome.
you guys
He
remember
can-
how we almost gave him like $1 billion?
Yeah,
I'm
glad we
really
didn't.
glad we didn't do that.
That was
I'm
smart.
glad
yeah.
we didn't do that.
Or it was almost really dumb.
By the way, you know who else is playing really good this season? Taylor Rapp. He's having a
Yeah,
great
you're
year.
right, dude. I was just thinking that the other week. I was
I
like, I
forgot
was
about
pissed
Taylor
off.
Rapp.
I was actually pissed off about it. I was
You
like,
know,
dang, he was
but
never good for us.
You know what's
But he is
crazy
good for
about
them.
it? That's really frustrating is that he's finally being utilized correctly. If you watch his tape at Washington and watch the way they're using him, they literally just said, "Hey Taylor, we're gonna put you in the same exact role you were," because he's really just being a Swiss Army knife.
As they should. Yeah, exactly. Like
Do you
that was
know?
what was frustrating that we always put him in. We did not use him correctly.
I'm gonna be real. I liked Rapp when we drafted him. His film was great. He was a Tyrann Mathieu style Swiss Army knife safety who could kind of do a little bit of everything. And what made him special, like Tyrann Mathieu, is just the unpredictability. You never really knew what he was going to do on any given play. Was he going to blitz? Was he going to play man? Was he going to play deep? Was he going to play box safety? Like Tyrann kind of just like every play does something different, and you never know what's coming. That's what Rapp was good at in college, and we never utilized him that way. And it hurt because you remember that season, I think it was 2022, where Jalen was playing the star, and I just thought to myself, Taylor Rapp is tailor made for the star. And if we just remember Staley had him shadowing the number one receiver in 2021 when we were the number one defense in the NFL. I just thought to myself, if Taylor played the star and Jalen was just shadowing number ones, we would have been a really good defense that year, man. That's ancient history, but Taylor's playing out of his mind. Props to Taylor finally being utilized in the right way and really showing the NFL that he's a good player.
Yeah, he's been utilized right, but I still think when he was with us, even when he still made some just awful plays. Just him to be on the field sometimes. He would make some bonehead.
No,
Yeah. No, he had his moments.
He wasn't used right when he was with us, but he's now being used right, and he's just improved a lot.
And then also
And
players.
he was young when he was with us.
He probably just got better.
That's true.
That's what. Yeah, he
But
definitely
you know when you're talking about putting the guy in the best position to be successful, we didn't do that. And
right.
And
Right.
yeah, he's definitely improved, and he's also seems to have a mastery of their defense, to be honest. Which I think makes a big difference for him. But he's
And then the Bills,
props to
what I
him.
love their defense, they keep it so simple, man. It's
So
not they
simple,
just keep it so
bro.
simple.
Isn't it refreshing though?
What I like about yeah, they keep it so simple.
I
Man,
agree.
our defense should be. I mean, if you look at like just the names in their secondary, it's not anything that like blows you away.
No,
But they're
man.
just playing so solid, and like that could be us, and
They're they're
it's not.
they're truly
I mean, our
they're Joe nailed it on the head. They're well coached on defense. It's very simple, and they
yeah,
just they move as a unit because it's not overly complicated, because
yeah.
it's well coached, because it's well game planned, and they have a team that kind of tailors a game plan every week to their opponent, which I love. But yeah, to the point. Now let's just you know what? Let's just switch over to the other side while we're chatting here. Um, yeah, the Bills are. This is the best the Bills have played since Josh Allen got there.
Yep.
So Rams defense versus Bills offense. Let's take a look. Rams defense is mostly healthy, except for we're sitting out John Johnson III because maybe one day we could give Troy Reader snaps again. But that's a different story.
Bro, if Omar, God forbid, got hurt, I'd be fine with Jacob Hummel, Jake Hummel coming in over Reader
Bro,
anyway, man.
I would
Just
be
activate John
fine.
Johnson.
I would be fine with Will playing inside linebacker if somebody got hurt. Like, I'm not even kidding you.
Over Troy Reader.
You would do a better job than Troy Reader. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And
man, we just
also, we could just adjust, by the way. If we're short, we have more safeties. And Kim Curl is built to play in the box anyways. You could just make a smart adjustment.
you could literally make him a line. You could turn him into Mark Barron. When we had Mark
Yes.
Barron and just make him a linebacker, basically.
You absolutely
If
could.
if you have John Johnson,
There's
that's the
or
thing. You would need to have John Johnson, and
yes,
then you could do that.
or the Lions have gone out and signed 3 inside linebackers in the last 2 weeks. Like, you just sign a guy off the street and let him play. It happens in the NFL every season. It's not rare or crazy. I don't want to see Troy Reader ever play another snap for the Rams again. I don't want to do it. Bills offense.
Yeah.
This man has broken us. This freaking dude has broken us.
Honestly, man, I actually this episode has been enjoyable for me, but it's funny. We keep like not going off to or we keep not staying on topic, but I love it. I love it. It's been
sometimes
a
you
good
just
one.
gotta rant. Their offense is, to be honest, we just talked about. I'm gonna retract the statement about a little bit about Josh Allen carrying them. They're solid all over. The O line is good. By the way, David Edwards is
They
actually
are.
playing pretty good.
No, they're yeah.
We
Definitely.
were all high on Osiris Torrance, who's playing great. They're
Yeah,
actually the O line is good. The receiving core, to be honest, is really solid.
Now it's good.
You're
Yeah,
talking
now that
about
they have Amari Cooper.
Keon, Amari, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel, and Matt Collins isn't bad. Like, bro, they're
Dude,
deep.
all of them are good, and they have like very specific like role, like things that they do distinctly
Yes,
in offense.
I
Like it's
totally
actually
agree.
very complimentary. They were just missing that X guy with Amari.
Which,
And
by the way,
once Amari got there, everyone got to kind of like go to the place where they fit and are complimentary. And
we've been talking about that. Remember, we've been talking about how we want a more balanced offensive weapon set. And
Yeah,
watching
have
that, Keon is your big red zone possession guy. Amari is your X, and then you have a speed guy in Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel.
Shakur is good. He's a good player.
He is, and then 2 good tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. And the running game, by the way, James Cook is taken off this season.
James Cook is really, really good.
In fact, how much has he taken off? Yeah, bro, 703 yards, 11 touchdowns on 4.7 yards per carry. You know, I'm a big stickler about the yards per touch. You can't see it over here.
I would have guessed it was more yards, but like either way, he's very good. Like I don't even care if the yards aren't what I thought it was. Like he's really good.
You can't see his yards per touch is 5.1, by the way, which is pretty good.
We're
talking about Kyron being around 4 most of the season. That's substantially, but yeah, bro, they're a solid team. Like no joke.
They're really, really
And
good.
by the way, Ray Davis, I think is a rookie, right?
Who?
Ray Davis. Didn't we watch him last year, Joe? He's
What is he? Was he Kentucky?
He was the Kentucky back from last season.
Yeah. Remember that.
Right, was it last season? Yeah. 4th round pick.
Yeah.
We liked him. And he's
Davis
actually been like, look at these numbers, bro. Because he's playing part-time, but you're talking about 350 yards, essentially 3 touchdowns rushing, and then the receiving game 153 yards and a touchdown for a guy who's basically minimally playing 5.4 yards a touch as like a rotational limited stat guy. That's great. They're deep. They're deep on both sides of the ball. They, bruh,
Yeah.
this game is gonna be the Eagles game 2.0, maybe worse to be honest. Because you think about it, like, I we don't do good against running quarterbacks as it is, but Allen might be the best running quarterback in the NFL besides Lamar right now
Yeah.
because he can beat you. In fact, if I was a defensive coordinator, I'd rather face Lamar as far as the running aspect is concerned, just because Lamar is going to be shifty. Josh Allen will straight truck guys, and he'll be shifty, and so it's like, you have your like Chris Johnson, like Lamar Jackson's like Chris Johnson. He's just pure speed and juke and shiftiness. Josh Allen is kind of that Adrian Peterson where he can juke you, he can run over you, he's fast, he's strong.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, he's
It's
Adrian
crazy that he actually runs over linebackers.
He
It's
does.
insane, bro. He's really a special player.
He's a complete runner. This team is scary, and
Yeah.
they might be in the Super Bowl.
Yep. I think it's their year.
So what do you think? We get spanked? Is this what it is?
Honestly,
Well, we have predictions. Hold on.
yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty. Let's talk about key matchups.
That's a good teaser, though. It's a good teaser.
Yeah,
You gotta wait till the end.
key matchups. Who wants to lead us off?
Me, I'll go with some key matchups. My key matchup this game is our D line and how do they do? I would say the D line and linebackers, and how would they do in containing Josh Allen? Um, I think this is one of those games to where like we play Jalen Hurts who runs, but he doesn't run nearly as much as I don't think he does as Josh Allen. So I think it's a game we really have to try to contain Josh Allen. Don't let him get out on the edges. And James Cook, he's good too. So I just want to can we stop the QB run? That's really my key matchup. The linebackers
Yeah.
and defensive line against Josh
Yeah.
Allen.
And just him extend like as far as your matchup of
Extended plays, yeah.
contain is like extending the plays and like the stuff that Kyler Murray did to us when he broke contain and then would make a
Absolutely.
play downfield.
Yeah.
That'll definitely be
We
a
got
factor.
we
as well.
gotta finish the execution on those sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go next. We talked about how they're a complete team, and then I guess their worst statistic is their rush yards allowed. They're 18th in the league. So I'm gonna say for me the key matchup is, I guess you could say Kyron and Blake duo or just the run unit as a whole. But yeah, for me it's the run game. It's Blake and I hope it's gonna be a good amount of Blake, but Kyron and Blake versus their front seven. Keep extend drives, keep Bill's offense off the field, get us into some good down and distances where it's not 3rd and 9, and obviously we've been awful on 3rd down all year. So yeah, for me that's really the matchup, our run game, and having some success against their front seven.
Okay.
Yeah.
My key matchup is pretty simple because I think it's their weakest part of their football team is their corners, and that's just basically Puka and Cooper getting open against those corners.
Yeah.
But like we said, the problem is it's not you're not just getting open against the corners. The scheme is simple and the team works as a unit. So it's like just getting open. And that involves Sean too, calling the right plays. So
Yeah.
it's Puka and Cup need to get open a lot, and they need to make something happen. I need 100-yard days from the both of them.
Right. They need to both explode for us to have a chance. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's almost for sure. Yeah.
All right. Keys to victory.
I'll go first. I'm gonna cheat and give 2, but it makes sense because there's a lot of things that have to go right for us to win this game. So I feel okay giving 2. I'll be quick.
Sure.
One is very simple. I mean, they're both simple, but the first one, which is simple, is we have to put together 4 quarters of good offense. It doesn't mean every single drive has to, we have to score on every single drive, but we can't just disappear for a quarter. We can't just not show up till midway through the second quarter on offense like we've been doing for 90% of the season. We have to put together 4 quarters of good offense to have a chance in this game, and finally have a complete game on offense. And then the second one is, man, for me, like when I think like how can the Rams somehow win this game, it's the pass rush just going crazy. And like Josh Allen is getting sacked. He's rushing throws. He's kind of reverting back to like the old Josh Allen where he actually was prone to make a lot of mistakes in years past, which he hasn't been doing this year, and that's why he's like a big reason why he's
Yep.
playing so well. But for me, yeah, that's like when I think like how did the Rams win this game? It's like the pass rush just goes nuts.
That's actually my key to victory is the pass rush, and I'll show you why. I don't know if you can see this, but you can't. You know what? Let me MacGyver this for you guys real quick because I think it's an interesting point. Is the 2 games in orange here? This is the pressure rates he's faced this year. The 2 highest pressure rates of this season. These are the 2 losses they've had.
Interesting. That is interesting. Yeah.
And not just
what games were those?
it was
This is Miami.
against
No,
Houston and
uh,
Baltimore.
Okay.
Baltimore.
So I kind of just set it right here. You can see the Houston Baltimore right here. But it's not just the pressure, it's hits. See, it's because he was fairly well pressured in these 2 games down here and this one as well. But look, no hits in this game, even though 23% pressure rate. And it was 3 and 4 hits in these 2 games, besides being 24 and 22. So it's not just pressure, it's getting like making contact and like hitting him. And I mean, that's all we have to go off, right? Like the 2 losses they had this season, he got hit a lot. So let's replicate that and hit
Wow.
him a lot.
That's a really good point, man. You know, that just even one more is the 23%, which is for them, that's pretty high. They didn't lose, but they almost lost to the Jets. And
They
the
almost
Jets aren't
lost to the
Jets
Jets.
aren't even good. So that's a good that's a good graphic.
And yeah, and even these 2 games here against Indiana and Kansas City, Indianapolis to Kansas City, they won handily, but the run games went off. In fact, I think if we look at it, yeah, like they were okay games for him, but like I think the run games were really successful in those games. But so yeah, the pressure is a big deal, but also just getting him on his back, like knock that guy down, get in his face. I mean, look, it's good. It's an uphill battle, but that's what we have to do. And then I want to highlight this as well. First down percentage. You guys see this? I just saw it. The 2 lowest in the season by a mile. Like we sort by. So this is what percentage of his passing plays were first downs.
Mhm.
These are far and away the 2 worst by like a lot. So what that tells me is that they're freaking playing tight coverage, and they're probably a lot of this was probably a cover 2 zone where they were playing tight man or tight zone, and they had 2 guys right past the sticks playing zone.
You're saying their first down percentage was the lowest for the games where the pressure rate was the highest?
Yes, but
Okay.
but like Joe said, they play a simple scheme, so they try to like on both sides of the ball. So but we need to do the same thing against them is get the pressure and then just play more of a contained like it's kind of the opposite of what we like to do sometimes, but like I think if we were to be more willing to give up a quote unquote big play to really play hard contain and let the pressure do its thing and not give up a bunch of quick passes and a bunch of quick stuff. I think that's probably the best game plan against them that we've seen all season, which is what the Ravens and the Texans did against them.
That's good. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So for me, my key to victory is like I usually do every week. This week it's just Josh Allen. He's been on the MVP race. This is a big game. Is this sun? Is this a this 4 p.m. So it's a game of the week game. So people gonna be paying. It's not live TV, but it's still a game of the week. So this one of those games to where Josh will try to make his case. We're getting late in the season. He just got married,
Yeah.
so he's probably going to come out there and congrats to him though, just getting married.
Yeah.
But he's going to come out and try to really prove something. So I think don't make Josh MVP that specific night. He's been really good this season. One thing he hasn't been super high in touchdowns. I think he has like 19 or 20 touchdowns right now. But yeah, just don't make him into an MVP. Don't make it to where, just like you said, Kyler Murray, like in the beginning of the season, we would get them to a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 7, and then Kyler would run out and make a deep pass touchdown or throw a 30-yard pass or 40-yard first down or something like that, or get the first down with his legs. Just try to contain Josh and make sure he doesn't, go crazy.
Totally agree. All right, boys. Anything else you guys want to say before we end this thing? Oh, predictions. Haha, just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to lead us off predictions?
I'll go first. So I'm pretty sure we're going to lose this game. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're going to lose this game. But like I did with the Minnesota Vikings, because I was confident against the Minnesota Vikings, and I was confident that we were going to lose that game. Um, I don't know why. I don't know why I thought we would win the Eagles game. That was I
Neither
let
do
the
I.
homerism take
Neither
over.
do I.
Let the homerism take over. It was too much. It was too far. I want. I might do it again, but I'm not going to do it now. So I think we're going to lose that game. But like I said with the Vikings, though, if our offensive line being 100% healthy and that run game is going to matter to me, I think we could get to a thing where we see a good run game. If that happens, that changes the complexion of the game. And if we start early, I think we maybe can sneak it away. But I'm pretty sure we're losing. I'm going to say we're going to get something similar to the Eagles game, probably 20 to like 30, something 20-34, something like that.
Okay. I guess I'll go next. Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills will win the game. That's my prediction. I went back and forth about whether I would predict a blowout or like a close loss. Um, I mean, I think the thing with the Eagles game is one of the things that was so obvious was they were just so much more physical than us. Um, like we just got straight bullied up front, especially in the run game. I'm not saying the Bills aren't a physical team, but I'm just saying
They're just not as physical.
Yeah, Philly is just kind of like on a different level of that, and I think that was specifically the big issue in that game while we kind of got blown off the field. All that to say is, I think it'll be a little bit more competitive than Philly, but I'll say Bills 31, Rams 20. So I guess not a lot more competitive, but
Yeah, almost
yeah,
the same.
yeah, it's like a touchdown less.
I am going to go 24-35 Bills.
Okay. Yeah. Same margin as me, I think. 11 points. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think
All
it's a
right.
recipe that we could win the game, but I doubt that
Yeah, of course. There's always, I mean,
we
yeah.
actually succeed. And then also, I know it was embarrassing for Sean to lose in a big game like that on Sunday Night Football. So I'm pretty sure Sean might come in with a chip on his shoulder, but
He better, man. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think we have enough.
I hear you. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Um, check out.
Sir,
We can do this every week, guys. Every week we're putting out an episode. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Subscribe to the channel again, just because we're trying to grow it and get into those algorithms, stuff like that. So, but we appreciate you guys watching. Please see us again next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a good
of
one.
course, have a
Yep.
good one, everybody.
Bye.